It is 9 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. Our invocation this morning be led by Pastor Eddie at the Church of the Heights. And the pledge of, sorry, I didn't call your whole name. Pledge of the Heights, Commissioner Paul Adamczak. Please rise if you're able to do so.
Let's bow our heads. Father, we just thank you for today, Lord. I thank you for each and every one of these that you put into leadership for our county. Father, today as we discuss business, but also keep in mind the storm that is coming this way, Lord, I pray over every single person in our state and our community, Father, for safety. Lord, I pray for our first responders, God. I pray for those that will respond after the storm. I pray for safety for them and their families. Lord, keep them safe and give them strength in this season. But Lord, I pray for our county today. Father, I thank you that the best is not behind us, but it's here and now and in front of us. I pray that you would lead, God, and direct us as we set up this county for our students, for our kids, for our grandkids in the future, to be the best county in this state. Father, bless each and every one here today. Bless each and every one that serves to make this county great. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Eddie, and thank you, Commissioner Adamczak. Do want to bring to mind we have an executive session, so we're going to recess for just a moment, and state statute allows us to go have some discussions with our attorney as a group under union negotiations. So we're going to recess, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Good morning. We're going to reconvene the Board of County Commission meeting, and our first item of business, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the minutes of the Board of County Commissioners meeting August 27th, 2024.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second. Further discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. We're going to recess the Board of County Commission meeting, go into the Port Authority meeting, and the first item of Port Authority is any public comment. Is there any public comment on Port Authority item only? Port Authority item only. Seeing no one rush up here for Port Authority, then we'll go to the port property lease. Mr. Sam Sullivan's not here today, so Mr. Suggs, you have that?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, we're trying to get my laptop here to pull,
Okay.
to open up so I can get to the agenda again. Yes, sir, we have on the Port Authority agenda this morning is a lease agreement between Putnam County Port Authority and NIS, which is National Services, or Nation Service, Industrial Services, I believe it is. I apologize. We also have Mr. Patrick Kennedy and Mr. Alexander here today representing NIS as well. So, we went through the LOI. We brought it to the board. Thank you, Jacob. Brought it to the board at the last meeting. The board approved us to move forward with putting the lease together. Mr. Commando, Mr. Patrick Kennedy worked on the lease agreement back and forth. We got it back late Friday afternoon. Everything looked good, so I wanted to go ahead, as I promised Mr. Kennedy, that we would, and Mr. Alexander, that we'd put it on the first available agenda. So here we are today, looking for board approval, Port Authority approval for the lease.
Move approval.
Anybody have any questions? Do we have a proper motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
On Port Authority items?
Just one, Mr. Chairman, if I could, before Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Alexander leave this morning. Thank you, gentlemen, for your due diligence on that, and we look forward to seeing what goes on out there at the Port Authority. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, then we'll close the Port Authority, reconvene the Board of County Commission meeting, and our first item is presentations. Ms. Lori Parker. Good morning, Ms. Parker.
Lori Parker, Human Resources. We received nominations for Employee of the Month, and for Employee of the Month for September is Martha Bennett. If she could come up in the library staff.
Good
Ms.
deal.
Martha Bennett works at the Boswick Library. She is a part-time employee with the library, and she's been here 12 and a half years. When I called Miss Martha to tell her she was selected Employee of the Month, she was very excited and asked me, do I get a crown? And I said, no, ma'am, you get money. And she said, oh, I'd like that too. So here's your check.
We could have
Ms.
got a
Martha.
crown for her.
And I have a crown for you. Since you asked. Yeah, Miss Martha said, oh, well, that's okay. I said, no, I'm going to get her one.
So you're queen for the day, right?
That's right. With us today is also Miss Stella Brown. She's the Director of Library. She's going to speak also
Good.
on Miss Martha.
Good morning, Miss Stella.
Good morning, Ms. Stella.
Good morning.
Come on
to
up
each
here,
of-
guy.
Good morning to each of you. Ms. Martha is a jewel. She has been around for a while. Ms. Martha is the type of person, she'll do whatever you ask her to do, but if she has a question, she does not hesitate to ask. Ms. Martha is a wealth of wisdom and knowledge. She shares it with anyone and everybody to help that person become a better person. I was sick one time and I said, Ms. Martha, She said, just do this, just do this, just do it. It worked, y'all. It worked. So when you talk about Ms. Martha, I don't just see her as an employee with the library system. I see her as an honest person, a very helpful person, a very willing person that would go far and beyond the call of duty to do whatever she can to do. Whatever for anybody. It doesn't matter your economical status. It doesn't matter whether you're rich, poor, in between, black, white, green, or yellow. She will do whatever she can for whomever she can. And with that, I applaud her highly.
Very good.
Good deal. Y'all want to come up and get your picture taken? Ms. Martha, you want to say something? You want to put your crown on?
I'll let the crown pass.
Yeah. Got a
Sorry. I greatly appreciate the little bit of recognition. To me, it's a big recognition. I would like to say just a few things that I try to practice throughout my life. I'm only 35 plus. But throughout my career of working, which I've had only 2 jobs, I've always practiced respect your employer and your fellow man that you're working with. We don't always have to like each other every day that we work, but we owe it to our employer to be respectful while we're on that job. I like to be remembered as being dependable, reliable, and truthful. If you don't have truth in your life, you have nothing. The dollars doesn't matter. A person can't say, she told me the truth, I can go by it. That's what I try to practice. And another, in my employment, be reliable. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Come on up. Just bring your people. You can put your crown on and get a picture with it. Absolutely. Don't you get it? I knew something. All right, well, congratulations to Ms. Martha, and we will be moving on. We have a 9 o'clock Planning and Development public hearing, rezone REZ 24-00008, Georgia Pacific Palaca LLC. Jennifer, it looks like you got that.
Good morning. For the record, Jennifer Gazella, Planning and Development Services. This application is to rezone from agriculture to industrial heavy. The applicant is Georgia Pacific Palaca LLC. The agent is Half Associates Incorporated. This is a 165.12 acre portion of a 237.97 acre parcel located on the west side of the intersection of County Road 216 and U.S. Highway 17 in Palaca. The applicant is requesting a zoning map amendment to allow for a semi-truck parking lot along with an inspection station. The subject site is split-zoned agriculture and industrial heavy and has a future land use designation of industrial. The parcel is located on the west side of the intersection of County Road 216 and U.S. Highway 17 in Palaca, has approximately 3,145 feet of road frontage on County Road 216, and 2,145 feet of road frontage on U.S. Highway 17. According to the Putnam County GIS reference map, there appears to be approximately 30 acres of wetland on site, which will not be impacted by the proposed construction. The FEMA flood zone layer indicates flood zone X and A are present on site. Flood zone X is not a special flood hazard area, however, flood zone A is a special flood hazard area. Should this rezone be approved, the applicant will then submit to the Development Review Committee to satisfy additional development requirements. The DRC will review plans to ensure the development is compliant with local, state, and federal development regulations. Agencies including but not limited to Florida Department of Health, Putnam County Public Works, Emergency Services, and St. Johns River Water Management District will review plans to ensure the development will not adversely affect surrounding properties. Your aerial view, future land use, zoning, flood zone, wetlands, conceptual plan. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend the zoning map from agriculture to industrial heavy, as the proposed amendment is consistent with the adopted goals, objectives, and policies of the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan and is compatible with existing development in the area. At the scheduled public hearing on August 14, 2024, the Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of the rezoning application. Questions?
Any questions for staff, commissioners? Is the applicant here? Would like to speak?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Laura Dietrich. I'm a land planner with Half Associates at 9995 Gate Parkway, Suite 200, Jacksonville, Florida, 32246. Thank you for this opportunity. Staff, Mr. Helms and Mr. Zach Baker have been very helpful on working with us. I just want to give you 2 quick points of background on what we had to do before we started this process. Given that it's a large campus on the northwest quadrant of 17 and 16, or 216, there were many parcels that have been there for quite some time, and they were under different LLCs. So when we started to look at the fact that there's a western campus and then a potential eastern campus, which is vacant currently, we wanted to bring everything into whole and kind of clean up our house. So we first started with re-recording the parcels at the subject site before you today and bring them all into what is now called the Georgia Pacific Palatka LLC. And we are now also going to do the same for the western site that's current. So that way everything is under one LLC named after its local home. The second thing we did was combine all of these parcels so that it was one holistic parcel, so there weren't a lot of issues with any future surveying and questions. There was one question in the LPA hearing in which one of the parcels that was combined actually has an easement that crosses over and attaches itself to the railroad tracks. And I believe that was probably at some point when a spur connectivity was accessible and suited the site. I'm not sure if that's active anymore, but nonetheless, the easement is still there. So if you had a question about that. But the large parcel, there's 165 plus acres that are subject to this rezoning request. There is still ample land north of it, but that is all in heavy wetlands. That is not in any intent in the present or the future to be developed. I don't think it could be anyway given the quality of those wetlands. So the subject of this is 2/3 of that parcel, the 165, give or take 0.12 acres. And it currently has industrial land use, but it also has 2 zoning categories, high industrial and agriculture. So we wanted to go ahead and bring that into the fold and make it all industrial. And it does sit exactly in the industrial overlay that Putnam County has. So it's consistent with those policies as well. The bifurcation of the parcel is where the overlay stops, and you can see the rest of the parcel protrude above that, and we're leaving that ag. Also in your policies, there are a couple statements in your future land use element policy A1936 states that industrial category for the FLUM consists of areas that are intended to be the primary industrial locations in the future, but additional industrial locations are allowed in several other future land use categories associated with manufacturing, assembly, processing, or storage of products. So technically, if they wanted to be able to proceed with that, they could by your policies, but we thought it was in the best interest to go ahead and just marry it all up. So. And there's one other one that came up in the LPA discussions and talking about commercial uses that would be in around or adjacent to agricultural uses. And it talks about the fact that those sites that are designed that are in keeping with those types of uses, such as assembly, processing, and storage or manufacturing, as long as they're accessible to one or more transportation facilities such as airports, waterports, and/or adjacent to paved county and maintained roads, which they are. So we are working also with DRC soon. I believe in 2 weeks we'll be meeting with them on site plans and working through concurrency as well. So if you have any questions, oh, and just so you understand, we're taking the parking lot of the tractor trailers that currently exist on the western campus. We have to remove that parking lot and build a new one on the eastern campus because the facilities that exist on the western campus are going to be expanded by 600,000 square feet. There is a potential for an additional 300,000 to 400,000 square feet to be built on the subject site here, but that is not a part of this application today. That's something that may take place in the future, but of course would have to come before staff and yourself if that were to ever come to fruition. So,
Good, thank you. All right, any questions? This is one of 2 readings, so we're not going to do anything today, but assign it to a future meeting, right? In a certain time, correct? Zach, you have a question?
You ask him a question.
Is that right? What I said?
That is correct, sir. Yes, you would just have a majority +1 vote. I think it's +1. Rich can correct me, to determine the date and time if it's not going to be a 5 o'clock meeting.
Okay. All right. So before we move on, it is a public hearing, so we will be asking the public if there's anybody in the public that would like to come up and speak for or against this project. Please work your way up to the microphone. Anybody for or against this project? Going once, twice, gone. Thank you. So commissioners, what's your
What
pleasure?
is the date of the first commission meeting in September?
October.
October, excuse me, yes. The 8th?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that we take this for the second reading to the October the 8th meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning or soon thereafter.
Second.
We have proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Okay, next is public comment on agenda items. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens the opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. This is on the consent agenda items only. We will have a time later on for miscellaneous items. So if anybody would like to come speak, we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes and time will be kept. So is there anybody that would like to have public comment on agenda items only? Agenda items only, please work your way up to the microphone. And seeing none, we will end that item. And commissioners, we have a consent agenda item. Commissioner Pickens, any items you wish to pull?
I have none.
Commissioner Adams, that?
I have none.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes, sir, I'd like to pull item H.
H? And is that all?
So,
Commissioner Wilkinson?
I have none.
Okay, so the chair, and I have none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, J, K, L, M.
second.
We have proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Mr. Turner, item H.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a quick question on it. Sorry I didn't get to y'all before the meeting. We've been trying for several years now to get these write-downs to be less and less and less, and we bought new software a couple of years ago that was supposed to help. Is that helping us, and are we thinking that this is going to get any better? Because the write-downs are still pretty significant. And I know that we're not going to ever get rid of all of them, but do we look at, is it trending better?
Yes, sir. Your write-downs are actually decreasing significantly from where we started when the new software was implemented, as well as the new team over there. Miss Amy and her team has done a great job in ensuring that we have submitted everything to the relevant insurance companies within the time frames. So the turnaround is very high. Our collections rate is actually increasing. What you're seeing, though, is still a product of the fact that our service calls are increasing. So as your pot grows, even when your collection rate is increasing, you still have some write-downs. So it is improving. There is a greater increasing collection rate on those. The majority of this is ambulance billing, so that's why we're talking about it. There was a very small sanitation write-off. Everything else is ambulance.
Well, I noticed that it started at $1.5 million back in '22, and we're down to 661 with more calls.
And
But
before that, it was double or triple that in the years prior to where we are today.
when did
So
we buy our
also-
software? Was it in '23?
No, sir, 21 or 2.
Okay. So
And also remember, just because we're writing it off the financials does not mean we stop trying to collect the debt. It just is not being carried on the financials. So those accounts that are outstanding will still be receiving notice of collection, at bills and that type of things. We will still maintain that activity.
okay, good deal. Mr. Chairman, I move approval of item H.
Second.
We have proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. We're going to move down to codes enforcement. And is anybody here for codes enforcement cases? Okay, we've got 2 people in the audience. Okay. Mr. Moore, do you know what items these people are representing? No? Sir, what item are you representing? What letter on your, you don't know? Okay. That's okay, we'll get to it. Okay, the first case, item A. Just real quick, we can,
Code case 2006-1491, address 108 Horseman Drive. Violations unsafe structure. Original fine is $18,193. Total cost of enforcement action is $3,854. Property owners recently purchased the property. It's now compliant and requesting a fine reduction. Board approves. We recommend a reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of $3,854 to be paid in 90 days for code case 2006-01491.
Proper motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Proper second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it. Next code case, 2006-00167, Steve Cullen. Is that anybody in the audience? No? Okay.
Address is 206 Teresa Avenue. Violation was unsafe structure. Original fine amount was $38,430.50. Total cost for enforcement action is $2,155. Property owners recently purchased the property. It's now compliant, requesting a fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend the reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of code case 2006-00167, $2,155 to be paid within 90 days.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it. Go ahead.
Code case 2009-402, address is 100 Sequoia Drive. Property owner is Dream USA Holdings. Violation was care premises. Original fine amount was $36,293.50. Total cost of enforcement action is $1,707. Property owners recently purchased the property. It's now compliant and requesting a fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend the reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Is the applicant here? No? Okay, good. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of code case 2009-00402, fine reduction to $1,707 to be paid within 90 days.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it.
Code case 2011-814, address is 230 Lakeshore Drive. Property owner's name is Elizabeth Carol Johns. Violation was permits required. Original fine amount was $19,280.50. Total cost of enforcement action was $4,815. Property owners recently purchased the property. It's now compliant, requesting a fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend a reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Applicant here? Seeing that, okay. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of code case 2011-00814, code reduction to $4,815 to be paid within 90 days.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it. Continue, please.
Code case is 2012-230. Address is 100 Sequoia Drive. Property owner's name is Dream USA Holdings. Violation was unsafe structure due to fire. Original fine amount was $74,768.50. Tax deed sales were anticipated when I filled out the paperwork, and I received the tax deed funds yesterday of $76.79. The total cost of enforcement action was $1,729. Property owners recently purchased the property. It's now compliant, and owners requesting the fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend a reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Applicant here? Nope.
Mr. Chairman, I think I need to take this one.
Go right ahead, Mr. Turner.
Wilson doesn't mind. On case number 2012-00230, I move that we accept the staff recommendation of $1,729 minus the $76.79. That is a surplus of tax deed surplus for a total fine of $1,652.21 if paid within 90 days.
A proper motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion on
Yeah, I
that?
have a question.
Yes, Ms. Wilkinson.
Mr. Thomas, so the photo that you have attached to that looks like the same photo that was on,
The same property.
is
That's
it the
correct.
same property?
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So just for two different cases?
Yes, ma'am, because the original fine was the original case was for a certain violation, and we had already taken it to the magistrate hearing, and then we had another case for a fire, and
Okay, thank you for that clarity. Thank you. I'm good.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Okay, Devin Glover, are you here? Okay, hang on. Start working your way up if you want to speak. Go ahead, Mr. Moore.
code case is 2014-660, address is 304 Hurley Street, Interlochen. Property owner is Devin Glover. Violation was unsafe structure. Original fine amount was $80,814. Total cost of enforcement action was $2,110. Property owners recently purchased the property. It's now compliant, requesting a fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend the reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Thank you. Mr. Glover, would you like to speak? Okay, good. All right, good. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of code case 2014-00660, fine reduction to $2,110 to be paid within 90 days.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Next one, Thomas.
Code case is 2021-610. Address is 112 Albacore in Satsuma. Property owner's name is Chris Huff. Violation was care premises. Original fine amount was $20,112. Tax surplus funds were anticipated when I did the paperwork. Since then, we received $27.65 yesterday. The total cost of enforcement action was $2,110. Property owners recently purchased the property and requesting a fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend a reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Is Chris Huff here today?
Mr.
Okay, go right ahead, Mr. Turner.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to case 2021-00610, I move that we accept $2,110 minus the $27.65 surplus from the tax sale for a total of $2,082.35 if paid within 90 days.
We got a proper motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Next item.
Code case is 226242, address with 335 North County Road 315. Property owner's name is Legacy Real Estate Investments and Funding, LLC. Violation was care premises. Original fine amount was $10,293.50. Total cost of enforcement action is $1,856. Property owners recently purchased property. It's now compliant and requesting a fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend a reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Is the applicant here? Okay, seeing that.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of code case 22-006242, fine reduction to $1,856 to be paid within 90 days.
Second.
Got a proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Next item.
Code case is 233795. Address is 121 Woodlawn Road, Satsuma. Property owner's name is Richard Newell. Violation was unsafe structure and care premises. Original fine amount was $7,225. Total cost of enforcement action is $1,417. Property owner has recently purchased the property. It's now compliant and requesting a fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend the reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Mr. Newell, would you like to speak? Come on up, please. By default, I figured it was you, this one. I'm just making a joke, sorry. I said by default, it had to be you because you're the last one on the list.
All right.
So,
Yeah, last is the best. So I worked with Officer Z. And
Mr. Newell, if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Richard Newell, and my address is 121 Woodlawn Road in Satsuma, Florida, sir.
Thank you. Okay.
So basically, I worked with Officer Z, and the place, we bought it, it was a foreclosed home, and it had 3 violations. One was the grass, one was the power line, and the other was the roof. So I had to replace the entire roof. I actually had to go back for a permit adjustment, resheet the whole roof, reframe it, put it all back together. I had to hire a contractor for power. So they reconnected the lines, so now I have power in the structure, and I had to mow the grass down. So all 3 violations were brought into code, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Any questions? Okay, good. Thank you. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of code case 23-003795 for a fine reduction of $1,417 to be paid within 90 days.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Just for the audience, today, this board just wants compliance. So that's why you're seeing us reduce these fines. We have a lot of derelict places out in the county, and when they come into compliance, we get try to get the hard cost of the taxpayer money back to you. Truly, if we were to charge some of these fines, they would still be derelict in your neighborhood. So that's why you're seeing us reduce those down. So thank you very much for your patience. Mr. Moore, thank you for bringing that to our attention today. And commissioners, any appointments? Mr. Pickens.
I have none.
Mr. Adamczak.
I'm going to remove Lindsay Lambert from the library board and appoint her to the Fair Authority.
To the where?
Fair Authority for District 5.
Okay. Mr. Turner, do you have any appointments?
I have none today.
Ms. Wilkinson?
Yeah, Fair Authority for District 2, Ed Killebrew.
Ed Killebrew, okay. And is that the end of yours?
Yes, sir, that's all.
And I have none, so that's good. New business, Public Works granting of National Gas Pipeline. Mr. J.R.
Yes, sir.
Grimes.
This is a parcel of property the county owns. There's currently already a gas line on it. It's at the corner of Browns Lane and Reed Street. It's a very small, like 0.014 acre piece of property that we own right there at the intersection. They're just trying to put another gas line next to the current gas line that's already on the piece of property.
Move approval.
Proper motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on the granting? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. All right, this is time for public comment on miscellaneous items. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. Believe me, it is not reasonable to expect the board will engage in debate or deliberations about matters on which the board has received no prior information as part of the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Your time will be kept, and public comment cards are conveniently placed at the meeting room entrance and should be submitted to Ms. Ashley to my left, your right. She's the clerk of the court, and we will start right now with our first. Ms. Deborah Wisham, if you'll come forward, please.
Morning.
Good morning. Ms. Wisham, you need to state your name and address for the record, and pull that microphone right to you, okay?
I'm Deborah Wisham. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
124 Krantz Road, Placa, Florida. I have a packet for each of the commissioners. Can I bring them to you?
Ms. Wisham, can I give them to Miss Ashley and she'll take care of it? The next speaker wants to talk about bringing the road into the road system. Is that not, the road is not in our road maintenance system now?
No. Well, the issue I'm concerning is the culvert on 126, 124 Krantz Road or in the area. It's a culvert that Putnam County put in over 30 years ago. And I've called like 3 times throughout the years, and they've always come and fixed it. And I called 2 years ago. They came and looked at it and came out that day and did a fantastic job. Okay, y'all got your packets.
Okay, you're good.
Each of you, huh?
We got it.
Did each of you get one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I've got one for over here if y'all want to share it.
You're fine. Just continue.
My concern is the culvert that is highlighted in orange, that area, that has washed out. And it's a culvert the county put in over 30 years ago. And I've called like, over the 30 years, I've called like 3 times. They've always come out and helped. And they've done a great job. This time, it affects 2 residents. They're both over 70. And Mrs. Williams is having to walk 2 blocks to get to her house because she can't get her car passed. And the ones at 124 Krantz, they can't get past either. They're having to park on the other side of the little creek. So that's my concern, is that these are current taxpayers, citizens, and there's no reason for a senior citizen woman to have to be walking 2 blocks to get to her residence. Let's see what else I didn't cover. This is the only access to these 2 residents. There's no other, they don't have a choice of taking a different road to get in. There's no other access to it. So, I covered everything. And another concern is fire and rescue cannot get past this culvert to get to these residents. And I think this is an issue that needs to be addressed. I contacted the county, and they were the ones who, it was Miss Chase sent me some of these papers, and I've been contacting. She was saying that maybe I needed to get signatures from all the residents on the road. There was 5 people that had not signed. I've gotten signatures from 2 of them. The ones that went on 11 Krantz Road told me they had signed years ago. I left them.
Ms. Wisham, time's up.
Okay. Anyway, I left them.
Commissioner Adamczak has a question for you.
Okay.
Commissioner Adamczak, you have the floor.
Have we established, I guess, through Ms. Chase, that this is private road, this section? Is it? I guess that question is for JT.
It's a private road.
Yeah, we looked it up in our database. It's a Class 3 private road.
They had told me.
I'll tell you this. I have a culvert on my road. It's a private road. I replaced it myself. I spent about $4,000 and replaced the culvert. I mean, I don't know that setting a precedence of replacing private road culverts is a great idea. That is my district. I'd love to help you, but I think it's the citizens in the private roads' responsibility to maintain the road.
They had told me.
I spend thousands of dollars every year maintaining my road.
They had told me years back that the culvert area was grandfathered in, and they've always come and repaired that culvert. And they don't.
That from a drainage easement thing, maybe? How does that work, Rich?
Ms. Wisham, let me say this, if you don't mind, Mr. Adams. That years ago, things might have been done differently, but we had an audit done, and we found out that we were doing work on private roads in areas that we shouldn't have been doing. We don't do that anymore. And I don't mean, I think they were just trying to be understanding to the cause, but truly my worst nightmare as a commissioner was trying to take a private road into the public system. And it was the worst experience of my life because everybody wanted it until they found out they couldn't drive their four-wheeler on it. They would lose control over who was going down it. So a lot of people, you'd be surprised at how many people want to keep their private road private. And but we do have a scenario you can get with Mr. Stout on how to bring that into the system, but it's a pretty daunting task to get it into the system.
I will continue to, there's like 3 residents that I don't have the signatures from.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to continue to work on that. But this is a culvert that the county put in, and you've got 2 senior citizens, current taxpayers, and they can't get, you're going to have a over 70-year-old widow walking 2 blocks, having to pull groceries 2 blocks to get to her house.
Ms. Wisham, it's
There's
not about
something
that.
wrong.
It's about a private road, and people have kept it private. So,
And
yeah, go ahead, Mr. Turner.
Debbie, you need to understand this is an isolated incident. This has happened since I've been here 7 years, at least 3 times that I know of. One 82-year-old gentleman on a walker had to walk 2 blocks to get to his house because he lived down a private road. The state statute says we cannot work on a private road. So it's not like we don't want to or we're not empathetic to your cause. That's just not the case. We're prevented from doing it. Is this a county, this is not a county easement, it's not anything, it's basically a Class 3 private road, and that's not a county easement that's going across it where the culvert is?
Not that we're aware, but we'll be happy to dig into it further. But I mean, at the level that we've gone, it is all private.
Well, I would appreciate it if we just made sure, absolutely sure, that it wasn't a county easement
A
or a
drainage
county,
easement, right?
culvert or a county, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And if it is, then we could do something with it. But if it's not, our hands are tied, Debbie. I'm
Because
just
the
telling
county
you.
did put this culvert in.
Yes, ma'am.
Like I say, and I've called them like over the 30 years.
But like Commissioner
Had to
Harvey
call.
said, the way they
Yeah.
used to do things back
Oh, that's
before that
true.
state audit is not necessarily how we're allowed to do them now.
Okay, and the culvert area only affects the 2 residents. I mean, the other people, a lot of them have signed the road. I'm still working on 2 or 3, but actually over the culvert, only affects 2 residents, and they both have signed.
Thank you, Ms. Wisham.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you, yes, ma'am.
Ms. Judy Williams, please. And you want to know how to get the road into the county maintenance system. Ms. Williams, hello?
Judy Williams. I live at 126 Krantz Road,
Thank you.
and I'm pushing 73 years old. This culvert drains the water that flows off of Stokes Landing Road and the Mondex. They diverted the water. Giant culvert on Stokes Landing Road flows all this water down across a cow pasture and through these culverts that they have rusted away, and so the water is flowing between them and washing the dirt out above them, and we have this giant crevasse that we barely have a little footpath that we could walk across to get to our houses. And I have fallen in my house and laid there and thinking, I can't get rescue to me. I got to get myself back up off this floor. And should my house catch fire and burn down, there's no way we're getting the fire department to me. And it just feels like to me, the only reason we have this situation is because Stokes Landing Road is draining their water through that culvert. And it's not even on our property that these culverts are at. Randy and I both or neither one of us own this property, that my sons and my neighbor man with their tractors this summer have been filling it back in, and the next strong rain washes out again. And the neighbor will come and say that the culvert's starting to wash out, and we'd get our vehicles on the other side of it so we'd be able to get to town. But then when we get home, I have a little red wagon. I have to drag my groceries back to the house, and I have to keep stopping and catching my breath. At my age, I should not have to do that. But it just, we wouldn't even have this problem if Stokes Landing Road wasn't sending all their drain water through these culverts. And that's, I feel like there is a drainage issue, an easement situation for these culverts to even be there, is because of the Stokes Landing Road diverting all that water to us. And I've been out there since 1977 was when my husband and I built our home out there. And it's just, through the years, we've had so much rain, and now we're having a hurricane this week. We just got my son out with a tractor, and he filled it in so I could get here today. But now we got a hurricane coming Thursday. What are we going to do again? We're trying to locate culverts. We found some maybe in Jacksonville, but we don't have the equipment. We don't have the capability to. These things are 4-foot culverts, 30-foot long, and there's 2 of them. And it's just, it's beyond our capability.
Ms. Williams, thank you. Mr. Adamczak, you have the floor.
I guess I have 2 questions for staff. I mean, from an emergency services perspective, is there any exceptions to that type of thing of not being able to pass it? Because you couldn't get an ambulance to those 3 houses when it's like this.
So as timing would have it, traditionally the answer is no.
Okay.
The exception to that is during a local state of emergency, if there is a road that is impassable, local governments, counties, are able to repair the road, not to make it good or perfect, but only to the extent of making it passable for that
time
state
frame. Okay. And then we're already going to verify if that is an easement, a drainage easement, and that we may be able to do something about it if that's the case, correct?
Yes, sir. Mr. Stout's already sent Ms. Marie an email to get her to start pulling the information on it as we speak. So maybe even by the end of the meeting, we'll have some kind of answer back for you.
I mean, when I did my culverts, our culvert actually collapsed. I mean, these culverts actually look okay. It's just a matter of filling them with different material, probably.
Now,
So,
if you look at the pictures of the 2 culverts, the bottom half
Ms. Williams?
is just rotted away.
if this was mine, I would put sandbags in there instead of sand and go over the top with stone and sand.
I think what you just said, the bottom of the culvert's rotted out.
Mr. Turner, you?
It's my understanding, if this water's coming from another neighborhood and that's where it's flowing through, that it's my understanding that gives us some leeway. I don't know what that leeway is, but I know that down in the Hoot Owl Ridge area, when we were blocking all that water up, we were blocking water up and it was flooding all the houses behind it. We actually went on Morris's property and got permission to go in there and change a culvert that was blocking the water up and flooding all the houses back up the road from there a ways. So do we have to wait until this one actually collapses and floods the houses upstream, or can we, or is it, when is it deemed that we can go in there and change it?
I think maybe since we have Mr. Commando today, maybe it'd be a wise opportunity for us to take advantage of that and go out and let him look at some of these and see if we can determine if there's any leeway in that statute. The way that we're able to handle the staff level is just that. If it's a public, we can absolutely do it. If it's private, we can't. But if Mr. Commando, I'll take him today as soon as we finish here, and we'll go out and look at some of these individual one-off items that I think that does affect drainage in the area. Maybe we can come up with a different opinion at that time.
Okay.
Ms.
That leads me to another question. Rich, can you, because we're having this issue throughout, in other areas of the county, as far as the drainage, are we responsible for the water, for the, all, you know, for the, I'm not speaking very good, but for the drainage?
Not responsible for all of the drainage within the county. I mean, there's drainage on private property, just like people who own private roads are responsible for those roads. They're responsible for the drainage. In fact, private property owners are responsible for making sure that they don't alter the drainage to or from their property. Now, there are certain county drainage systems that are part of county roads. That's part of a county-owned easement or right-of-way. We are responsible for those. So it just depends on whether or not we have ownership of the property.
So we're not necessarily in charge of the flow of the water, only when it comes to public right-of-ways?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Appreciate you coming today. Next speaker, Mr. Dan Steele. And your question is the state money that you read in the paper going to rural roads? Yes, it is. But come right up and ask your question.
Yeah, my name is Dan Steele. I live at 202 May Lane out here in West Putnam. And yeah, I'm going to bring up this article here. Governor DeSantis, 2 weeks ago, gave the 30 counties $122 million for safety, preparedness, and for evacuation and stuff like this here, which comes out to about $800,000 for the 5 of you.
No, it doesn't.
But, Larry, you know, we'd like to have all the $4 million just for West Putnam. Okay, now we have got some real bad roads out there. And my question is, I don't know, this money goes to 30 counties. How does Putnam get more than that? Because some of the counties, I mean, I've been in a lot of these counties. I've lived over to Citrus County, and they've got some pretty decent roads. And some of these here, like these counties, have got a lot more money than Putnam does, because Putnam is probably one of the poorest counties on the list. How do we get our share of the money, is my question, for one thing. And how can we get some of these emergency roads and stuff, or real bad roads and stuff, fixed on this money?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
You may.
So that was a particular grant, and Putnam County did get a large portion. We received $9.8 million, and that $9.8 million is not to be divided among us county commissioners, and it's not to go on all the roads that we would love to be paved. It is very particular. We apply for grants, and those 2 grants were to resurface County Road 315 from the Marion County line to State Road 20. So that is where that $9.8 million will go. The state, we apply for specifically for a grant. The grant says this is what you do with it, and that's what we do with it. So there is no leeway to take that money and put it on another road. It's very specific. But the good news is it is in your end of the county.
Yeah, well, because I'm all for West Putnam out there. In fact,
Well, that's where that 9.8 is going on on State Road, on County Road 315.
315.
Yes, sir.
Which is nice. In fact,
Yeah, because it hasn't been redone in about 20 years. Yeah.
But there's a lot more issues out there that I'd like to bring up later on, because they're using West Putnam as a county dump. There are so many people moving into tents, and they don't get garbage pickup. And I know one place where there's someone that dumps it every week in the same spot.
Well, you're welcome to.
The dogs tore it up one day, and I got out and looked, and there's a bunch of certificates in there from McDonald's. They've dumped the same bags, white bags. I have not went in and tore them up or anything, but more than likely it's the same people that have been dumping trash there.
Well, we have codes enforcement in the sheriff's office. You're welcome to use either one of those.
I went to the sheriff's department. I've been to code enforcement. Within a quarter of a mile of my house, there's 4 trailers. One of them's parked in the road right away. They've got a pipe coming out the side of the trailer, dumping sewage right on the ground. And the sheriff's department there, I know I've talked to one of the deputies, that he's
Mr.
pretty
Steele.
sure they're all drug dealers. They
Mr.
walk
Steele,
past my house
time's up, sir.
almost every day.
Yeah. And you can call the health department on that sewage. They'll
I
come
will,
out.
I'll go back and
And
see them again.
also, the current resurfacing that's happening on 315 is paid by the state also. So when you look at County Road 315, it's probably over $13 million the state of Florida is paying. If we had to pay it, I can tell you there's no way we could afford to pay that. So thank you, Mr. Steele, for your time.
thank you.
Mr. Roberts,
Yeah,
you're up.
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Travis Roberts, if you'll come up and state your name and address for the record. You want to talk about Fourth Gates Ferry.
Travis Roberts, 110 Yancey Circle, Satsuma, Florida, 32189. Okay, I want to find out what's going on in Fort Gates Ferry. Okay, I'm going to give the Reader's Digest version here real quick because I've only got 3 minutes. In 2017, Irma hit. You guys started, said right then, not all of you because some of you weren't here, but it was going to be fixed. This is a place that's been historically.
Thought you were fixing that.
No, how am I going to fix it? I'm a private citizen. What I did.
Did I miss something?
No, I don't.
I'm
get
sorry,
to fix
Mr.
it.
Roberts. I don't mean to be rude, but you came before us begging for permission to fix that.
Yeah, oh, yeah. No, I did not. That's a falsehood. What I
Okay,
came
I'm
before
sorry.
you guys is because you were going to spend millions. Press Tompkins had originally set it up. It was going to be spent. The money was going to be spent over there. I came in and said with Mr. Rawls and them and said, let me see if I can get it done cheaper, which I did. To the tune it was like 60 grand.
So you did fix it.
No, I didn't fix it.
Okay.
I set it up, went before Tallahassee, went before FDOT, all these guys, and you guys are not going to throw the blame on me for this. I came and said, there's ways to do it cheaper and to keep it historical. You guys said, okay, we'll give you a chance. I went out, found the dock builders, got with the FDOT, got with everybody, and we wound up getting it done for, instead of 1.9 million, 60 grand. At that time, Mr. Turner, which I respect his thing, said he didn't care about the Fort Gates, that if it wasn't there, it didn't matter.
No, that's not true.
Oh, yes, it is. I can get the video, and I'll put it on the Putnam Way this afternoon for you. Thank you, sir. Anyways, it comes out, and also, First Coast News did a thing in 2018. Now, here we are 7 years later, and the place is still shut down. That's
So
all about it.
did you fix it for 60,000?
Oh, yeah, it was 60,000.
You fixed it for 60,000.
I didn't fix it. The county fixed it. You guys own it. I can't fix anything. I don't own it.
Okay.
Okay? So, and I appreciate it if you quit saying it. It's the county's landing, both sides. At that time, I said the other side needs to be done at the same time. Never was. I took Mike Troxel, Mike Nimitz, all the Mikes that were there, including Press Tompkins. Mr. Pickens has been involved with it. Mr. Adam Sack's been down there a few times. It's still not open. 7 years later. We got another hurricane coming. And then to top it off, you guys cut the man's check and then say because Mr. Hackett died that Dale Jones doesn't have anything with it. I've talked to the attorney, and they said that, you know, according to their paperwork, and I believe, I don't want to misphrase here, but Dale Jones does not own it. Yes, he does. He's a partner in it. That's in you guys' paperwork that I pulled up. So what's going on with it? Because every time I call, it's a different story. It's a different person.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank
I'd
you.
like to
Mr.
I'd
Pickens?
like to address this. And Travis, I want to thank you for everything you have done. Can you turn the beeper off? Yes. Everything you have done on what I call the east side. Okay, it's done. The only thing that's not done is the transition from the dirt to the wooden landing. Other than that, it's fixed. Okay. The other side, and you can talk about the mic, 3 mics. Okay. I understood that there was very little damage on the west side. That's not true. I'm going to leave that where that is because those people aren't with us anymore. Right now, we have our Scott Knowles, our county engineer that we've hired, and he is evaluating the damage over on that side. And it's not going to be a $25,000 fix. I was about sick to my stomach because I had been told that it was going to be limited amount of work over there, okay? So we haven't forgotten it. So I don't know, I'm not going to have Scott come up, I'm going to put him on the spot, but I'll have some type of answer, I hope, soon, Scott. Okay, also, we can go back to the contract. Okay, Dale Hackett did die, okay? I know that you reached out to Tabitha and then also to Rich Commando, our county attorney, about that, okay? The contract was going to be over in September or October, one way or the other. The county has honored that contract for the period of time that ferry has been down. Okay, I do not believe that this board will engage in converse. We can enter conversation, but I do not believe that the county will extend this contract for a service that's not being provided. Okay, you could probably say that we shouldn't have provided it back then, but we did on recommendations of our previous county attorney, and the county has honored that. And what I understood my last conversations with Tabitha and with Rich Commando, that you did not have the documentation that said that Dale was one of the owners. Has he operated it? Yes. I know he's operated it. Okay? He's down there today. But until we have that documentation, we can't even move forward in a discussion. But the actual evaluation of the other side is being done now, and then what we would have to do is find the funding to fix it. And that's where we are right now. And I do suggest with this storm that somebody needs to move that barge from in front of the landing so we don't have the same reoccurrence that we had 8 years ago. I truly believe if that barge was moved, we would never have had this problem. That's all I have to say right now.
Thank you, Mr. Pickens. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. And we'll continue on. Is there anybody else? No, Mr. Robert, we're
Cut
done.
me off on my 3 minutes.
Is there any?
Could I get my last
No.
30 seconds?
You have, your time ran out. He
But you
responded
cut
to
me
you.
off on my last 30
I did
seconds.
not.
I clicked my watch.
Is there anybody else that would like to
So
speak?
Travis, if you have that, excuse me, if you have that information, you'll get it to Rich, and then we can further the conversation.
Okay. Anybody else would like to make public comment? Seeing none, we're going to move down to Clerk of the Court, Mr. Matt Reynolds. The Honorable Matt Reynolds.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning, sir.
I don't have anything, just wanted to say, praying for everybody through the storm and hope all goes well.
Good. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Mr. County Attorney, Rich Commando.
I don't have anything formal, just join in the same, please take this storm seriously. As I'm starting to hear people that say that this is just going to be no big deal, a little bit of wind and rain, and as they're talking about it hitting landfall just south of Tallahassee as a major hurricane, the model seems to be shifting our direction, so I don't want to be an alarmist, but everybody should be prepared. Thank you.
Thank you. You're correct on that. And I tell you, what's this, the second one that's hit Dixie County? I mean, poor people over there. County Administrator, Mr. Terry Suggs.
Yes, sir. Just a couple things, Mr. Chairman. Just want to let you know that Putnam County Equipment Auction will go live on 9/30 and will close on 10/7. It's posted on the website as well as on Facebook. So I want to make sure that everybody knew that was going on. And as Mr. Commando and Mr. Reynolds has already alluded to, and yourself, we got the pending storm out there. We had an update this morning at 8:30. We have another weather briefing at 1:30 today. If you don't mind, I'd like, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, to ask Mr. Grimes if he has any comments or anything he'd like to share with the board as he facilitated the call this morning at 8:30.
Please do, Mr. Grimes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. The track we're on the very far right-hand side of that track. They're expecting this storm to intensify and grow as it hits the Gulf of Mexico. Depends on if it slows down or it speeds up. The issue we're going to have with this one is we don't have a lot of time to act. Once it hits the Gulf of Mexico today, they're looking at a landfall. As earliest time of arrival is 8 o'clock on Thursday morning, with the most likely being sometime Thursday evening. So we don't have a lot of time to react. We're going to look at this 1:30 briefing this afternoon. If it maintains the same course or any kind of tick to the east, I don't see where we have an option but to go ahead and start our sheltering operations, because we don't have an all-day Wednesday to get the special needs set up. We've been in contact with the superintendent of schools and the associate superintendent about potential school closure later in the week. We have to prepare for the worst in this and hope for the best. I would much rather have everything ready to go and not need it than need it and not have it all set up and ready to go. We're going to watch that 1:30 advisory real close, and I think we have a 5:05 this afternoon. I think that according to Mr. Turnipseed this morning, they're going to relook at that declaration that was sent out yesterday afternoon, which he thinks will be included in it today when the governor's office takes a look at it this morning. Other than that, we just need to make sure everybody stays safe. We've been very, very wet in a lot of areas. With any type of significant wind at all, we're going to have a lot of downed trees and power lines. Shows 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. That doesn't sound like a lot, but in an already soaked area, that's going to be a significant amount. My other concern with this one is if it does come anywhere to the southwest of us and comes anywhere close to the area, the Astor area is already at a flood tide currently as we speak, and that's going to push that tidal up through the river and affect our low-lying areas as well. We're already just below, we're in an action state of the tide currently in that Dunn's Creek area. I think we got 6 inches to give before we're in a flood state. So we just receded off of that northeasterly in the moon last week, and it started and it's back below the bulkheads, but with any type of change, shift in the east. And the bad part about this is where it comes in at a 10, 15 miles to the east makes a big difference in the topography. They're already calling for hurricane force winds in Jacksonville just by the current track. If it makes any type of wobbles along the way, we could be seriously affected. So we'll be taking a real close look at that 1:30 this afternoon. If we need to make adjustments, we will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Grimes. As you know, we started this prep work yesterday with the information that we received first thing yesterday. Sandbags, I believe, are set and are out now, so public can get some sandbags and start getting prepared for what we hope is nothing disaster. But, we have to be prepared, as Mr. Grimes said. So we'll take a look at the 1:30, as Mr. Grimes alluded to earlier. We'll come back at the 5:05, and if we have to make any decisions between now and then, we will communicate with the 5 elected officials, and we'll see what we need to do come 5:05 today and move forward and make sure everybody stays safe and that we're doing the things that we need to do, not only for our staff here, but our citizens in the community. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just so you know, that also the state health department started their call down list yesterday for the special needs. I just want to make sure we get caught today that they have started making those calls to figure out how many people actually want to be sheltered in special needs. And that's kind of the reason we got started a little earlier, is because we had to transport those people to the special needs facilities. So we had to get extra ambulances and stuff on boarded to move those folks into the special needs that need transportation.
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate that. And I agree with you that I would rather be more prepared and not need it than to be lacking. And I'll say this, those of you, and I said it this morning on the radio, that have been affected by the water here in the past month, the rain that you've had and the flooding, pay attention to this, because West Putnam honestly hasn't had that problem. So not every place in Putnam County has experienced flooding. We could use some rain. We could use some water out there. But, Peniel, Stokes Landing area, y'all have been hit very hard. That water's trying to flow out of Silver Lake, out of Mud Lake, and head down to the river, and you're in the way. So there's a lot of rain coming that way, and we just need to pray for our neighbors. So thank you. Commissioner Adamsack, do you have any comment?
With the updates we have, I have nothing.
I'm sorry?
With the updates we received, I don't have anything
Okay,
additional.
good. Thank you. Mr. Turner?
I have nothing to add other than just that I would like to reiterate with everybody else, we need to pay attention, that it's a whole lot easier to be prepared and not need it than it is to be stuck in a bad spot. So just pay attention. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Pickens?
Yeah, those are pretty much my comments. I want to go ahead and thank the Public Works Department, law enforcement, all of our staff, emergency services, Stephen and his group out there. The county, the average person doesn't see what happens during the preparation like this, but we have a command center out off of Highway 19 that is pretty impressive, and a lot of the county employees will take different roles there for different needs that may arise. So, and I just want to thank them for that, and especially in the areas of Georgetown, Dunn's Creek, the river, the low-lying areas. The river's already up. I live on the river, and it's already 3 or 4 feet in my yard. I expect this to, either way this goes, to put it in there about 20 feet. And so people just need to be prepared that roads are going to be underwater. There's going to be flooding. So just be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pickens. Ms. Wilkinson?
I have nothing.
And again, I want to reiterate, if you can, stay off the roads if you don't have to. I know people will be evacuating from our Tallahassee area and probably headed south. So do what you need to do to be prepared for you and your family. That's the end of my comments. We are going to recess this meeting, and we'll pick it back up at 5:05.